You are now listening to the Big Data Beard. Hi, everybody. This is Corey Minton with the Big Data Beard, and we are back with another edition of the Big Data Beard podcast as part of the road trip to Splunk.conf 19. And we are in Nashville, Tennessee, at Dell Technologies campus here just outside the airport. So if you hear planes going over, don't be alarmed. We are okay. But I've got my buddy Kyle Prinz joining us on the podcast. Kyle, how you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I'm awesome. Sitting in the sun, enjoying a little bit of weather outside the RV today. If we were inside, it's a little bit hot in there, so I'm glad we're not there. George and Dwayne joining us from the Splunk Trust. Welcome, George and Dwayne. How you doing, boys?
Doing all right.
Good. How are you?
All right, so let's get started. Dwayne, tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
All right. So I tend to call myself a reforming sysadmin.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time at IBM doing IT ops stuff, expense reporting stuff, really not the most glamorous stuff, but it was fun. Then a few years ago, a buddy of mine, Jason, convinced me, all the stuff that you do, really, you could pivot that to security pretty easily. Mm-hmm. And hey, look, we're hiring. So sweet. I wound up going to a small consultancy, Defense Point Security, almost 5 years ago now.
Okay.
And they kind of threw me in, neck deep doing Splunk PS stuff.
Nice.
Going out to mostly public sector customers and helping them solve problems. And along the way, ran into George and drug him over to Defense Point, and now here we are, a month and a few days into Defense Point's full integration into Accenture Federal.
Very nice. All right, how about you?
Yeah, well, I've been using Splunk for over 10 years, I guess.
Old school, brother.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember ES 2.0.
Wow.
Yeah, I know
a
where the
Wayback
skeletons.
Machine.
Yeah, I know where the skeletons are. Nice. And then when Dwayne brought me over to Defense Point, I supported a commercial customer.
Okay.
And when I started, literally the first trip out to that customer was the first day we bumped them over 1 terabyte per day.
Uh-huh.
And by the time I left them back in March, was well over 20 terabytes per day.
Wow.
Into ES and everything.
That's big.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, and George is one of the original Splunk IoT people.
Oh, Splunk IoT.
He's got a really, really old blog post about using Splunk to monitor washing machines and dryers in an apartment complex.
Yeah, the running joke is Splunk the laundry. Yeah, I was working for 2 years at UAB down in Birmingham.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
On the security team there to do Splunk and security. And I had a little work apartment during the week, and that's one of the services that is common to college campuses.
Uh-huh.
And so since I did not know what the best time to do the laundry would be in this building, took a Raspberry Pi, and then I would scrape the mobile site for the laundry room, and then drop that into Splunk, and then watch the patterns. and then when Heck came out, because I was friends with Glenn Block, the PM that was over Heck at the time, I rewrote that my code to use Heck from the Pi with a Python class, and I called it dry hard, Splunking the laundry
Splunk
2.
Dry hard.
Yeah, Splunking the laundry 2, and that blog post is still up there. So,
That's awesome.
Oh,
so
man.
You were doing IoT with Splunk before it was cool. You're like the Barbara Mandrell of Splunk IoT before it was cool. All right, so for those of you who are joining us on the YouTube, you can see that these two fine gentlemen have a hat on that is not a normal hat you see every day in Nashville. Give us a little bit of understanding.
Should be a cowboy hat.
It's on the shelf when we're at home.
That's right. You wear this every day? This is awkward.
No,
tell us a little bit about this fez. What's the deal with the fez?
Oh, all right. So we got to wind the clock way, way, way back.
I like it.
Really early on, like 2010, 2011, a lot of Splunk's community stuff was really kind of word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Answers really didn't exist yet.
Yep.
Answers was just coming out, and there was an IRC channel.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of folks on the RC channel, some of the really old school Splunk support people, Splunk engineers. Amrit was one of the folks who was on there, Octavio, and a few of the other really old school folks. And the person that was kind of running the community efforts was Rachel Perkins.
Okay.
And Rachel at the time was in charge of all of the Splunk documentation stuff. She was the person over the docs team, and kind of got the running the kind of community 1.0 as, hey, we'd like you to go do this thing.
Yep.
And so for a while, she was, she would take folks in the community, and we would get together at conf and, have a little happy hour, and she'd start handing out T-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
The very rare T-shirt. This is a Splunk Answers shirt from like 2013 or so. There was the Ermiger meme was going a little crazy, so we kind of went and rolled with it. Yeah, that's the one. The Books Girl.
Yeah.
But eventually she turned, her and the folks at Splunk turned that initial community into, kind of how can we build almost like Microsoft, like an MVP program for it. And that's where the Splunk Trust came from, and they kind of adopted the fez as the ceremonial headwear of the folks in the trust.
That's awesome.
And it's really great for conf because folks will, it's easy to pick folks out of a crowd when you've got a hat on that makes you a little bit taller than everyone else.
That's right. So I have to ask, what is the plural form of fez? Is it fezzes? Is it fezzi?
Fozzie.
It's called Splunk
Usually,
Fozzie?
Fozzie?
I think most of us will use fezzes.
Fezzes, okay.
Yeah.
I was hoping it was fezzi, but that's too bad. So the Spunk Trust, right, is the community that you guys are, and gals are the folks that are super engaged, super involved in helping progress people's knowledge of Splunk. How does one become a member of the Splunk Trust today?
Well, I'm going to go back to something Rachel said a long time ago.
Okay.
The first time that the first group of trust people that she brought in, the statement she used was, they're not always the smartest people in the room, but they are the most helpful.
That's a good way to say that.
And that's the criteria we use, right?
Okay.
So usually in the summer, they open up nominations, so you can someone else can nominate you through the website, and usually Splunk will blog that, that it's open, or you can even nominate yourself and all that,
Okay.
and you reference like answers, what used to be RC, now Slack, blog posts, the things that you do to help the community. You do not
User
have to
groups
be-
is a big one.
Yeah, user
Yeah.
groups is another big
Okay.
one. You don't have to be all of them, right? You just have to be active and helpful.
Okay.
I mean, yes, a lot of us have been around a really long time,
Yep.
so we know the product.
We'll take a 20-second time out for the helicopter I didn't see coming.
Yeah. There you go. As long as it doesn't crash.
And this is the beauties of a live show.
Yeah, right by the airport.
That's right.
Yeah.
But a lot of us obviously do know the product really well because we've been around. And all of us have our own areas of expertise, right? And so, like, when you come to conf, and if you come to the Ask the Experts area, depending on what you're asking, one of us may go, well, I don't know that, but hold on, let me go get Dwayne or Martin or whoever, right? And they'll go grab them and pull them over. So it's really all about how helpful you are. And so when we look, the current Splunk Trust members will vote on the list of the people who have been nominated.
Okay.
And then Splunk will do a final review and stuff like that.
Okay.
But what we look at is how helpful you are with the community.
Now, Splunk Trust has been around for a few years. Has it grown as well? Or is it capped at a certain number? Or?
Doubled, almost tripled, I think.
Wow. So what are we up to now?
70 something?
I was going to say when they do the induction at conf, there's probably going to be ballpark of 70.
Wow.
And the first year it was like 25, 26.
Okay. And is this an annual membership, so you have to get reelected every year?
Yep.
So it's not just you earn it and then you're set for life.
The initial crowd, Rachel just sort of tapped everyone that was active, right? But after that, it sort of becomes self-sustaining. Nominations, and the existing crew votes, and You know,
Yeah.
we've had a few people roll off. We've had some people that are Splunk Trust members that have gone to work for Splunk.
Mhm.
A whole
And-
bunch of those lately.
Yeah, yeah, a whole bunch of those. And they become honorary. They're still part of the trust,
Yeah.
but they're not formally in the trust.
Right.
Right. So you'll see a lot of those.
Interesting. So, you mentioned answers a number of times, and we're the community around Splunk, I think, is interesting. But for those who don't know what answers is, tell us a bit about what this answers program is and why it's critical to people adopting Splunk.
I want to say it's like Stack Overflow,
Okay.
but without all of the harsh downvotes on everything.
Okay. So it's nicer than Stack Overflow. Okay.
I don't want to say nicer, but
Yeah.
unless an answer is just egregiously wrong, folks tend not to just downvote.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Pablo is one of the folks at Splunk. He works on the community team, and part of he's got a whole team of folks that kind of help shepherd answers and make sure the site's up, make sure it's working,
Right.
make sure that we don't have anybody being just obvious jerks in answers.
Yep.
There's a whole kind of background of community folks that act as moderators for folks putting up just either really bad or, oh no, I accidentally put PII in a question and we need somebody to moderate that out.
Yeah.
Or other strange things, like for a while there was a whole bunch of folks that were spamming it with like Love Guru stuff,
Nice.
and a lot of work went into filtering that garbage out.
Gotcha. So it's not just the smartest people in the room, it's the helpful folks
Exactly.
that are using the tools that are kind of standard to the community now, Slack, Answers, and Conf and user groups. But I'm curious, what's in it for you? Like, why are you being helpful? What do you see as the benefit in being that helpful person, besides just getting a sweet hat? Like, what's in it for you for doing this?
Well, you want to go first, George?
Well, I mean, we do get the fun of doing things like at Conf, where like last year we did it, and we're doing it again this year, where a lot of the people in the Ask the Expert area will be the Splunk Trust.
Yep.
And there is some fun in, like, for example, I had one lady that came up and she was having problems with KV Store, and she saw odd behavior where they were putting results to the lookup, but then it would like vanish shortly after. And I'm kind of like the KV because that's a big part of ES. And I went, actually, I know exactly what that is and which conf file to go in because I saw this like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
So it's that
Literally
benefit.
right before the conf, it was like, you need to fix the op log and adjust this, and that'll stop that behavior. So there's some fun in that, certainly.
Yeah.
And for me, I always go back to when I started with Splunk. I had a bunch of really old school Splunk folks help me get started.
Yeah.
Amrit, Octavio, Ginty, a bunch of the folks. They were part of it was their job, but they were really invested in helping customers be successful.
Yeah.
And just it's always a great feeling to show up at Conf and have somebody you don't really even recognize walk up and go, hey, you really helped me out with this issue I was having with Splunk last year, and I really appreciate that.
That is a good feeling.
Yeah.
That's super cool. Yeah, and I
And occasionally it leads to free whiskey at Conf too, so that's always great.
when somebody will buy you a drink in Vegas, it's not a small investment. That's a good thing.
And another benefit too is that as the Splunk Trust has matured the past few years, Splunk itself is leveraging us more. So Splunk Trust will often get invited to have meetings with product managers and stuff like that, where we actually give feedback on the products directly.
Okay.
Stuff like that. So that's always fun.
At one point, Doug gave us the mandate of keep us honest.
That's a good mandate from a CEO.
Yeah.
Right, listen to the voice of the customer, and you guys are you're like the epicenter of the voice of the customer. You're the ones that are deepest in it, so that's a good mandate. So you get to do this stuff at Splunk Conf, and that's fun. But in your day job, like, what are you guys doing at what now is Accenture Federal? What is your role there, and what are you excited about in terms of Accenture Federal, what they're delivering to customers?
Well, George and I recently started working on the same project, so that was a change for both of us. It was pretty cool. We're working on the official name is Managed Detection and Response.
Okay.
So it's basically really targeted for federal customers. Take Splunk, Phantom, some other tools, roll it all up, put a really smart SOC using those tools, and be able to, our CTO likes to refer to it as data in, intelligent analysis out.
Okay. So
we don't just go, here customer, here's a ton of alerts, go deal with them. The SOC, we've got a 24/7 SOC in San Antonio, and they are working every day to go in and find things in customer networks, figure out the right way to triage it, and be able to hand that customer who may not be as technical as we are, here's exactly what you need to do to go remediate this security issue.
Okay, very cool.
And really on the back end, I'm working to keep the infrastructure up and running and so on and so forth. And George is more on the
content, ES, trying to organize the whole thing and bring all the different pieces together, whether it's helping our folks that do the onboarding with, the best and optimal ways to onboard, to feed the searches, so the searches can then feed the playbooks, and then to make the playbooks smarter, to make the SOC analysts' jobs actually less stressful and easier, so you can make Phantom, act like a tier 1 analyst and do some of that work for them, so you can have the analysts focus on the more interesting things.
The real goal for the analyst is to make sure that when they get an alert to triage, the Phantom has already done all the hard work of establishing the context around it.
Okay. So Splunk's made a bunch of acquisitions lately. I mean, is there any of them, besides Phantom and some of the later ones, any of them that you're really excited about?
I kind of have a love-hate relationship with VictorOps.
Okay.
It's really great because it keeps us on our toes and makes sure that when we do have service problems that somebody is paying attention to it.
He says that because it calls him in the middle of the night.
Yeah, that's the downside to it.
Yeah, that's all right. So Brett set up some VictorOps alerting for us on the IoT bathroom in here.
Oh dear!
And it's going crazy on when people don't wash their hands. It's losing its mind.
About 39 alerts per missed wash hands, I believe. Yeah,
it's wild. Well, that's cool. So, are you guys presenting at conf this year?
Not this year.
Lucky.
Well, we had a 2 or 3 year run there, and that was actually kind of where our collaboration started, was on a conf talk.
Nice.
You want that quick story?
Oh, I do want to hear this. Let's
So that was the year that the fezzes first came out, but before Splunk Trust existed.
Okay.
And Dwayne's name in Slack and IRC is Duck Fez.
Yeah.
So I convinced Dwayne to do a talk, and he hadn't done much public speaking at that time, right? And I'm like, okay, and I've done plenty of it. I did podcasting since back when we hand coded RSS feeds. So I'm like, hey, we'll do a joint talk.
Yeah.
That'll help you get comfortable and all that. So I didn't warn him to break the ice. I prearranged with Rachel to make sure we got our fezzes early.
Nice.
And then I bought a rubber duck bill off of Amazon and hid it in the podium. Get up in front of the entire room, and we're introducing ourselves. And Dwayne is known as Duck Fez, and he is now, and I made him wear the fez during the talk. And I pull the duck bill up and go, he is now Duck Fez, for real. And I made him wear it on his fez the entire talk.
That's awesome.
And so every year after that we did a talk, I did another duck thing to him at the beginning of the talk. And so it got to the point where now he's just like, I know you're going to do something. I just don't know what it's going to be.
You got to work on getting it back at some point. We're going to find some. Kyle's really good at getting people back. We'll stick him on you.
I don't mind it. I was tortured horribly for my last name in the 3rd grade. Now it all just doesn't matter.
There you go.
You've embraced it well.
Yep, that's right, man. So is there anything you're excited about this year at conf? Like any either sessions or things you're excited about seeing or doing?
I'm really hyped for Ask the Experts.
Yeah.
That seems to be, it's a time to do the stuff that we do in the community, and kind of like we were saying before we started, Bill O'Reilly and do it live.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, is that Ask the Experts? Is that a formal engagement? Do we have to sign up to meet the experts?
So you can. There is a sign up sheet on the conf website where you can basically make an appointment to talk to an expert in an area.
Okay.
And it's kind of like And we've all kind of laid out what our areas of expertise are. If you want to talk to somebody about search optimization, you talk to Martin or Nick.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to talk to somebody about weird math in Splunk, you talk to Rich. If you want to talk about regexes, there's Carrie and I think it's Matthias, big, ridiculously tall German fellow.
Yeah, I met him.
If you get on the Slack channel, they're doing like regex challenges all the time. So if you've got this really weird regex question, then it kind of gets routed to them.
Okay.
Now, is the Slack channel? That's not just Splunk Trust only, right?
Oh, no,
you guys
no.
are accessible via public Slack channels.
Yeah, it's Splunk usergroups.slack.com.
Okay.
There's about 6,000-ish people in it.
Wow.
That's a brilliant community. Honestly, that's one of the things one of the reasons why we have so much fun with, going to conf is that it's that vibrant community, tons of people super engaged, and this year's going to be massive. Like they're saying, like 12,000 plus people at Splunk Conf. Now, what was your first conf? What year?
2011.
2011.
Wow.
Okay.
Somewhere right around that.
The last one in San Francisco.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh yeah, mine would have been right after that.
Or the most recent one in San Francisco, I should say.
Yeah, the most recent one. Nice. So this whole idea of the Splunk Trust, I think, it's like you said, Microsoft has done it before. But if you had to say, like, just in one kind of summary statement, why is the Splunk Trust so different and cool by comparison to all the other cool technology groups out there?
Besides the headwear?
Don't you have capes too? Is there capes?
There are capes.
Are some capes.
Is that a special like super secret reason you get a cape?
That goes back to Rachel again.
Yeah.
Rachel and another dude, Dave Paper, who works at Splunk now.
Okay.
And it started as an IRC meme where Dave was like, "You know what we really need? We need Splunk capes." And Rachel didn't tell anybody that she was doing it.
Okay.
Until packages started arriving at people's houses with capes in them.
Yeah.
And she originally, it was really hard to find a supplier.
Uh-huh.
So she only made like 20 of them.
Okay.
And I think that those 20, other than people that have made their own, are basically all there are in existence.
That's
Wow.
awesome. So I got to tell you a funny story. My first conf, I think it was 2012, when it was at the MGM. And I was super excited because about 3 months prior to that, I had just started using Splunk because I was an engineer for Isilon, one of the Dell Isilon products. I was an SC here, and I had a bunch of customers that were, basically had these big storage environments. And they'd call me and they'd be like, "Hey, something's wrong." And inherently, I'd always run this same kind of Izzy gather info, like log capture. And I was using like Wireshark and other stuff, and I was like, man, there's got to be a better way to automate this. And I started to tinker around, and I built a way for customers to send me the outputs, and I just ran it in my own little Splunk environment. And it wasn't like an official tool we had or whatever. So I started using it, and then about, a month later, I get an email from like the guy who ran engineering for Iceland. He's like, "Hey, it turns out marketing's sponsoring this conference called Splunk Conf. Does anybody know what that is or have any interest in going?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, yes, I'd love to go. I'd love to go learn," because I've just started using it. I explained what I was doing. So they sent me, and there was like 2 of us there. Ralph Wu, shout out, my boy, was from Iceland, was the only one there with me. So we go, and I walk into the keynote in the MGM, and I'm excited, but I'm also simultaneously like trying to do my day job on my phone. And I'm walking in, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna go get down the front row. It's gonna be great." And I walk in, I sit down, and all of a sudden I sit down, I'm looking at my phone, and I look up, and I'm like, what in the world is going on here? And it's all you guys and your fezzes and capes and stuff. And I had sat down right in the middle of the Splunk Trust area, and I immediately was aware. I was like, I don't need to be here. Like,
you don't belong here.
Whatever they did to get that on their head, I haven't done yet. I gotta go. And I immediately turned to them. Nobody was rude. Everybody was nice. They didn't say anything like, "Hey, buddy, get out of here. You don't have your..." But it embarrassed me so bad to be like, it's like you like walked into like the first class lounge and you belong and go. You're like, I don't belong here. So that was my first experience with the fezzes. Well, guys, it's been fun to have you on to talk to us about the Splunk Trust, about how the community works together, and it's really about being helpful and engaging to help people adopt and learn how to use Splunk in meaningful ways. But before we let you go, we want to shift gears. We have a little section we like to call Rapid Fire, and while we've talked to you about what you do at Accenture and what you're doing with Splunk, and how you're helping the Splunk Trust. We want to get to know a little bit more about you personally. So I'm going to turn it over to Kyle for a section we like to call Rapid Fire.
Okay, it is 6 questions, extremely quick. Are you guys ready?
Sure.
All right. Question number 1. What is your favorite SPL command?
In my case, probably lookup.
Lookup?
Yep.
Any particular reason?
Just there's so many different things you can do with it.
Okay.
George and I actually did a talk on all the different crazy ways you could use lookup, and a lot of folks don't think about their search problems as how is what I'm trying to do basically an enrichment of existing data, or is it something else? And a really old Splunk blog post by Alex Rates kind of laid out in State of the Union form some of the coolest things about lookup, and that really stuck with me over the years.
Nice.
And I'll have to add stats to that. Right?
Stats.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they go together.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know where this pattern originated. Answers. I swear, if I could find it and kill it, I would. People love to do input lookup and then join. It's like, no, do your search, do a stats, and then apply your lookup to get, because otherwise you're breaking the whole map reduce and all that other stuff, right?
Nice.
Right. So we talk a lot about technology and how it's helping. What piece of technology is currently making your life worse?
Cars.
Cars.
My daughter's car has had the exact same sensor go out like 3 times now.
No kidding.
Yep.
Oh man.
And it has led to things like her calling at 2 a.m. on a Saturday morning. My car's dead in downtown Nashville.
Oh no.
Okay, take an Uber home. I'll go down there tomorrow and lift it up in a parking lot and fix it.
Oh no.
I have to second that, because my eldest niece had her air go out in her car, so I help with that. My youngest niece just got her first car, so
goodness.
that was
Oh
fun.
no.
And then, of course, my car needed some work too. So.
Automobile
All
technology.
in 3 weeks straight.
Which is hilarious, because yesterday we had Chris Burnham come over and show us his new Tesla toy. That's a nice car.
Yeah, it
Pretty
is.
rad.
Those are wild.
Chris let me drive it once.
Kyle got to drive yesterday.
Yeah. Oh man.
That was the peak of his experience on this road
It
trip.
was just the most exciting thing I've done in the past
Till
week.
they cut off your software updates.
That's right.
Okay, so Splunk is known as a t-shirt company that has a software problem. What is your favorite Splunk t-shirt?
I mean, obviously Ermagerd Splunk.
I like big data, but I cannot lie, because I'm an 80s guy.
Yeah, that's a great
Strong.
one.
A strong second, though, was the one I actually didn't get, which was the data models is better than dating models.
I don't remember that one.
That's funny.
I didn't grab any from the pile, and apparently all those went to the wind. I asked folks in Splunk, hey, have you got any of those in the back room? No.
Yeah.
To be found.
Now, how many? You guys have been around Splunk for a while. You get access to a lot. How many Splunk t-shirts do you have each?
An entire drawer that I use for the gym these days.
A bunch.
Yeah.
I've got a few that like this one. I drag it out like once a year, and that's like one day at conf.
And
But
he locks it in the safe the rest of the time.
Absolutely, yeah. Keeps
Yeah.
it
We
locked tight
appreciate
like the
being honored with
Constitution.
the presence of the Ermagerd.
this one was another one that Rachel put together, and I don't know if she actually ran it by marketing or not. But I'm walking around 2012 at the MGM, and Eric Swan comes walking down the hallway, and he sees it and he looks and he goes, "Where did you get that?" I'm like, talk to Rachel. And he comes back by a few minutes later wearing one with a big smile.
He wasn't angry. I'm not mad. I just want one.
Yep.
Now, what TV show are you currently binging right now?
I'll admit I'm not.
No TV?
No TV.
Not a TV person.
I'm just not binging anything right now.
Okay.
I'm actually re-binging Babylon 5.
Babylon
Strong.
5. Okay.
I'm kind of waiting for the second season of Lost in Space to come out.
Comes
Yeah.
out I saw the announcement.
Oh, really? I didn't realize
Yeah,
it.
they said they had an
Awesome.
announcement. I think it comes out, I want to say it's like early December.
Cool.
Because I saw
Yeah.
on Twitter the other day, but the Lost in Space season 2 is coming out. It's either late November or early December. But I'm like you. My wife is not into sci-fi, which is challenging. I don't know how we stayed married. She didn't like Star Wars, which hurt my feelings. But I got her into Lost in Space, and she's into it. She's actually waiting with bated breath, so
Cool.
I'm keeping constant watch on it.
Oh, that's
Yeah, I'm waiting
perfect.
on that one in the new season of Rick and Morty.
Oh,
Yes. Yes.
no.
Thank you.
See?
I tried to get Corey into Rick and Morty. We watched about half of one episode, and he looks over
was
at me and he
like-
goes, I
I was
can't
like, there's
do this.
something wrong with you, bro.
Yeah.
Did you start him with something like interdimensional cable?
I think we just...
We started like season 1, episode 1, I think.
was
Ah.
it? That was our first problem, I think.
Interdimensional cable. All right, I'll give it a try. Tonight in Memphis, we're watching Rick and Morty.
Yep. Is that the episode we're going to go with, interdimensional cable?
That's a good one.
Okay. We'll go with
All
that
right, we'll
one.
do it.
Perfect. We'll tweet what we think of it, yeah?
There you go.
Perfect. Okay, so Splunk Base is ever growing with Splunk Base apps. What is your favorite Splunk Base app?
I've got to give a shout out to the Canadians, MetaWoot.
MetaWoot?
Discovered Intelligence, Canadian consultancy. It kind of takes all of the metadata, hosts, source types, and so forth, and really presents kind of your data about your Splunk environment in a really cool way.
Oh, very cool.
Nice.
I'm going to actually have to give a shout out to the Splunk Base team, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole push with App Inspect and making that whole process easier and more things clearly labeled is so much better than it used to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
So rather than one specific app. Of course, it'll be interesting to watch all the, as Python 3 starts to get adopted, how many old Splunk apps get,
Ooh.
how they
Yes.
handle that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Some of my own, too, that I haven't
Somebody had to
actually
refactor.
updated yet.
I was going to say my one app that I had on Splunk Base was silently delisted a few weeks ago.
Oh, bummer.
Would be-
R.I.P.
It's all right. It was a base 64 command.
Oh, there you go.
So, if you guys are traveling at all, is there anywhere interesting that you're heading next?
Besides conf,
I mean, you could
Touche.
did you hear about the Halloween party?
I heard there was going to be a
Or I should
Halloween
say the
party.
search party.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's a Halloween party. It's
That
in a
is-
place called Splunkville.
that's what I've heard.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know what to expect. They say that they've recreated like a city. We're gonna be trick or treating, but I'm pretty excited to see it now. I
Yeah.
guess the other question we didn't even have scripted, but if you have to go as a Halloween costume, what would you dress up for as a Halloween costume?
that's a hard one. I was going to take an inflatable T-Rex costume, but
That'd be awesome.
yeah, something about no masks,
Yeah,
no
no masks.
Oh, yeah,
face
good
paint,
point.
stuff
Yeah.
like
This is
that.
actually a popular topic in the in Slack. There is a Splunk Trust specific private channel, and so everyone in the trust is knocking around like going as horrifying SPL commands and
Yeah.
things like that.
I threatened this morning to find a sloth costume and go as index equals star.
That's funny. I don't care who you are. I was thinking about getting one of those green outfits, that
Yeah.
only has a face showing. So then if anybody gets me on camera, like we'll do the chroma key replacement, and I'll just be my face
Just
floating.
a floating head.
That'd be kind of fun.
Maybe we go as Splunk Trust members. We make our own fezzes
Oh.
hats. Or would that be a term of endearment for it?
I don't know. Is that culturally appropriating? Because
Yeah.
that was one of the things that they said you can't do is don't be rude to another culture. And you guys are such a special breed. So I don't know if it'd be right.
I think I'd allow it.
You would? Okay.
Especially if you hand us whiskey first.
If I do what?
Hand us whiskey first.
Oh, indeed.
We
We
will
can
find
arrange
you.
that.
Yes.
Well, guys, it has been awesome to talk with you
It's
about
been
the
so
Spunk
much
Trust.
fun.
It has been super fun. Thanks for being host for us in Nashville, and we will see you boys and hopefully a lot of our listeners at Splunk Conf in just a few weeks. Thanks for listening to the Big Data Beard podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Big Data Beard podcast.
This amazing adventure would not be possible without our incredible sponsors. We thank you, Dell Technologies, VMware, Red River Technologies, Arrow Electronics, and Converging Data for making the road trip to Splunk.conf 2019 possible.
And be sure to smash that thumbs up button so we can keep the episodes coming. Until next time, keep being awesome.